شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاصم الجبارين، مبير الظالمين، مدركي الحاربين. والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الأطهرين، سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، قالت عقيلة بني هاشم: ما رأيت إلا جميلا. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marzia, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shuhada, Ulama, and Sayyidin, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. The one that created man for no purpose except that man may get to know him, that man may seek proximity to him. As we mentioned before in the Hadith Qudsi, Allah says, Kuntu kanzan makhfiyya, I was a hidden treasure. فَأَحْبَبْتُ أَنْ أَعْرَفْ, I desire to be known. فَخَلَقْتُ الْخَلْقَ لِكَيْ أَعْرَفْ, and so I initiated creation so that they may come to know me. The purpose of mankind is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the only way to know Allah, the only way to understand Allah, the only way to gain the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through the path of Ali Muhammad. There is no other path that takes an individual towards the true understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these majalis and these gatherings that we have form the basis, form for us a stepping stone into that realm of understanding, into that realm of love. Because we have fallen out of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not know how to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yet Karbala and Ahlul Bayt teach us all that love. Ahlul Bayt came to guide us towards that reality, towards that truth, towards that perfection. But only if we take hold of that guidance, if only we follow in their footsteps, that a person will be able to achieve that greatness that has been promised to us, that perfection that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises to us, to the point that He says, O son of Adam, you come close to me and I will give you the power to say kun fayakun. You will say to something be and it will become. This is the ability of the sons of Adam, that they can reach the highest point beyond Sidratul Muntaha, and where Sayyidul Malaika himself says, if I go any further my wings will burn off, but it is only the son of Adam that may tread into that unknown. Each and every one of us has that ability. Each and every one of us has that divineness within us, that godly nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala twice in the Holy Quran says, نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, I blew part of my soul into an individual. If we want to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we need to understand Ahlul Bayt. We need to understand and gain the ma'rifah of Ahlul Bayt, that who is this family that has been sent down upon this earth. And no one truly, if we ask ourselves, will be able to understand Ahlul Bayt until Yawm al-Qiyamah, when they themselves will begin to show slight signs of themselves. They say on the Day of Judgment, when all of existence will be gathered on the plains of Mahshar, it's not as easy as that actually. It's not as easy as all of the existence will be gathered on the plains of Mahshar. Rather, there's stages, there are processes. I have a whole lecture series on it. I don't want to go into it again here. But suffice it to say, the whole earth will be in a state of turmoil. All of the global earthquake that shall take hold of the whole earth is أَزُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ ذِلْزَالَهَا, when the whole earth will begin shaking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ زَلْزَلَةَ سَاعَةَ شَيْءٌ عَظِيمٌ, that earthquake at that time is something ajib. It is something azim. It is something that cannot be fathomed. When the whole world is shaking to its very core, where now وَإِذَا الشَّمْسُ قُوِّرَتْ, and the sun has been extinguished, وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ, when all of the stars have been extinguished, when now the skies begin to be folded in, when every single human being shall run from their place, when the mountains shall break away from the earth. 4 stages in the Holy Quran Allah speaks about. He says, and then when the shaking of the earth occurs, the mountains shall be lifted off the face of the planet. They will be turned towards the earth. فَدُكَّتِ الْأَرْضُ دَكًّا دَكًّا فَدُكَّتِ الْأَرْضُ دَكَّةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ, and they shall be crashed against the earth in a single crashing. Now they will all become mountains of dust. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبُسَّتِ الْجِبَالُ بَسًّا فَكَانَتْ هَبَاءً مُنْبَسًّا, that He will then order the winds to carry off these pieces of these mountains of dust, and they will be spread across the earth. Now the earth will be one single plane. All of the tectonic movements have occurred. All of the land masses have joined. The sun is extinguished. The stars are extinguished. Everything in the heavens and the earth destroyed. The seas are becoming fire, and all of mankind is made to come out from their graves. فَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا, when the grave split open and all of mankind will be told to stand, will be told to come out on the plains of Mahshar. Many on that day, Allah will constantly say, لَمِنِ الْمُلْكَ الْيَوْمِ, tell me, whose kingdom is it today? لِلَّهِ وَاحِدِ الْقَهَّارِ, it is only the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On this day, no man has authority. On this day, no man's strength, no man's ability to speak shall aid him. On this day, it is solely the kingdom of Allah. All of them told to come out. Some of them told, no, you, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot out of the grave, 300 years you stand there. This day, 300 years is nothing, because that day is that day that is 50,000 years long. Says stand there, 300 years, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot upon the earth. You don't have permission to take a step forward. You don't have permission to take a step back. Now when you're ordered out of the grave, behind every individual is one sa'iq, one shaheed, one individual that will stop him from running, another angel that will hold his book of deeds. One will stop him from farar, the other will stop him from inkar. Now you understand why Ali says, وَلَا يُمْكِنُ الْفِرَارُ مِنْ حُكُومَتِكَ, my Lord, how can I run from your hukuma? In this world I can sin. In this world I can choose not to pray. In this world I can choose to listen to music. In this world I can choose not to observe hijab. In that world, وَلَا يُمْكِنُ الْفِرَارُ مِنْ حُكُومَتِكَ, on that day there will be no running, there will be no excuses. On that day you won't even be able to speak. الْيَوْمَ نَخْتِمُ عَلَىٰ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَتُكَلِّمُنَا أَيْدِيهِمْ وَتَشْهَدُ أَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ, their hands will speak, their feet will bear witness. We will seal their mouths. No one will be allowed to speak on that day. They will all gather on the plains of Mahshar, from the time of Adam until the time that Malikul Maut blew that trumpet. All of existence there, then surrounding them. will be the angels of the first heaven. The first heaven is more populous than the earth. Everything that you see today, everything that Hubble has recorded, everything that the Voyager has seen, as far as you can see, those billions and billions of galaxies that exist out there, those galaxies that are billions of light years away, that will take men billions and billions of years to reach them, trillions of years of the earth to reach them. Those galaxies and everything that you see, that you know today, is only Sama-ul-Awal. There is still 6 other heavens, and the 6th Imam says that the other heavens have more population than this heaven. So all that you see, he says, if you were to gather all of Sama-ul-Awal and reduce it into a ring, the size of Sama-ul-Awal compared to the second Sama is like a ring being dropped inside an ocean, and likewise the second, and likewise the third, and likewise the 6th, until the 7th. All of them gathered together, more populated than the others. Yawm al-Qiyamah, mankind in the middle, from Adam until the time that Malikul Maut blew his trumpet. Around them, the angels of the first heaven to stop them from running. Around them, the angels of the second. Around them, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. All of these celestial beings upon the earth, and with all of that existence that is there, the only sound that will be heard, the 6th Imam says that all of these existence on the earth, the only sound that will be heard will be like the buzzing of bees, because on that day, on that day, there is no one that can say anything, there is no one that can utter anything, because that is totally the kingdom of God. That is the kingdom of God. No one else has authority on that day. And when they all gathered, when all of them are gathered, and their testing and their questioning begins, they say that all of them will be told to be silent. The arsh will be brought in, and Allah will announce, I am Allah. There is no God worthy of worship but me. Today is the day of justice, and today I shall do justice. As all of mankind stands in anticipation, the caller will call out, and where is Muhammad? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Where is the Holy Prophet of Islam? They say the Holy Prophet will step forward, a member will be brought of 1,000 steps. The order will come, climb my Habib to the top of this member. The Holy Prophet will climb the 1,000 steps and reach the top of the member, and he will sit there. Jibreel will come to him, say, Ya Rasulullah, this is congratulations upon you. May glad tidings be upon you. This is that maqam al-mahmuda that Allah promised you in Surah Isra, where He said that we will give you maqam al-mahmud, that lofty position. This is the interpretation of your lofty position. Now do as you please on this day. Today is your day. You choose who goes to heaven. You choose who goes to hell. You set the rules today. The Holy Prophet looks across the plains of Mahshar, says, today I set the rules. Then where is Ali? Says, Ya Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen will make his way from the plains of Mahshar, begin to climb up the minbar, until he reaches the 999th step, and Rasulullah will say, Ya Ali, you sit there. Radwan, the keeper of Jannah, will come. He will place the keys of Jannah in the lap of Rasulullah. He will say, Ya Rasulullah, today Jannah is yours. Give it to who you want. The Holy Prophet will take the keys and drop them in the lap of Amirul Mu'mineen. Then the keepers of hell will come, and they will say, Ya Rasulullah, here are the keys of hell. Today is your day. You choose who goes to hell. He will take the keys and again place them in the lap of Amirul Mu'mineen. Then he will turn to Amirul Mu'mineen. He said, Ya Ali, you are Qasimul Nari wal Jannah. Ali, you are the one that distributes heaven and hell. Today, Ali, you make the decision. For today, heaven and hell are subservient to you in the same way that a slave is subservient to his master. And at that moment, as all of this is being viewed, the call will come out. All those that are in the plains of Mahshar, Ya Ahl al-Mahshar, lower your gazes. All of Mahshar will be told to lower their gaze. They say, for Fatima Salamullah alayha is entering the plains of Mahshar. They say, why is it that all of Mahshar will be told to lower their gazes? What is it on that day? For on that day there is no hijab. On that day there is no sharia. There will be people standing there on that day that will be hamilan thiqli ala dhahri. Those individuals that will be covering and carrying on their back the burden of their sins. Uryanan, dhalilan. They will be naked. They will be humiliated. On that day people will be naked. No one will be caring about anyone else. On that day they appear drunk. وَمَا هُمْ بِالسُّكَارَى. But they're not drunk. It's out of the fear of what is about to happen. The order will come, all of you, lower your gazes, for Fatima enters the plains of Mahshar. All of mankind shall lower. They say, why is it that they're told to lower their gazes? For there is no hijab, there is no Jannah, there is no Sharia on that day. They say, because on that day, Sayyidah will manifest herself in her truest form, in all her divine majesty, that whoever looks at Zahra will be destroyed. No one will be able to bear to look at Zahra. They say she will come in riding upon a camel of light, 70,000 angels to her left, 70,000 angels to her right. She will be sitting in a mahmal on top of the camel. Inside will be the mercy of Allah. Outside of it will be the forgiveness of Allah. In front of her will be 70,000 angels holding flags that say the hamd and the thana of Allah. And in the hand, the reins of the camel will be in the hands of Jibreel. She will be taken towards the doors of Jannah. They say that as she dismounts, the order will come, Zahra, you are the first, enter into Jannah. She takes a step forward. The narration says she stops. Allah says, Zahra, why do you stop? She turns, Ya Rabbi, oh my Lord, my Lord, I wish these people to know my real value, my real worth on this day. At that moment, they say, tongues of fire shall raise up from Jahannam and take all those that were the ghasib of Zahra to hell, all those that oppressed Ahl al-Bayt to hell. Then she will cast her eyes over the plains of Mahshar. She will see people that are shackled to be taken to hell, but written on their foreheads is, Hada muhibbu Fatima. This is a lover of Fatima. She will turn, Ya Rab, why is it that I see these people being taken to hell, but yet it is written between their eyes, Hada muhibbu Fatima. The reply will come, Fatima, today is your day. Do as you please. Imam al-Baqir says, my mother will begin to pass over the plains of Mahshar like a bird flies over the earth picking up seeds. She will go and intercede for all those that loved her in the dunya. Ilahi, this person cried for my Hussein. Ilahi, this person was one of my lovers. Intercede for them. The command will come, Zahra, today is your day. Intercede for who you want. Understand Ahl al-Bayt? How will we try and understand Ahl al-Bayt? They are beyond that understanding. Sa'sa bin Sohan tried to understand. He tried to understand who Ali really was. The 19th of Ramadan comes, Amirul Mu'mineen struck on the night of the 21st. They say Sa'sa bin Sohan came to see his Imam. Not everyone was allowed to visit Amirul Mu'mineen. Sa'sa was a very special companion. Sa'sa comes, says, Ya Ali, I have some questions to ask you. Will you answer them for me? Amirul Mu'mineen says, Sa'sa, ask me what you want to know. Says, Ya Ali, are you greater or is Adam greater? Amirul Mu'mineen looks towards him, Sa'sa, it is not good for a man to praise himself. But because these are the ni'mah that Allah has bestowed upon me, know, Sa'sa, that I am greater than Adam. لِمَاذَا يَا أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ? For what reason, O Amir al-Mu'mineen? He says, read the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Adam, Adam, live within heaven, but لَا تَقْرَبُوا هَذَا الشَّجَرِ, but don't go near this plant. That plant, Sa'sa, was the plant of wheat. Ali, Allah has made it halal for me, that I can consume wheat. Adam was told to stay away from the wheat. Adam could not stay away from it. He went near it. He tasted it. He placed it in his mouth. Allah sent him out from heaven. But know that I, Ali, for me, wheat has been made halal. But I, Ali, have spent my whole life eating barley. For this reason, I'm greater than Adam. He says, Ya Ali, are you greater? Or is Musa ibn Imran greater? Is Nabi Musa greater? He says, I am greater. لماذا يا أمير المؤمنين? He says, read the Holy Quran, Sa'sa. You see, when Musa goes to Allah and Allah orders him, Ya Musa, اذهب إلى فرعون فإنه طغى, that go towards Fir'aun, for he has become an individual that is a transgressor, that has transgressed the boundaries. And Musa says to his Lord, Ya Rab, my Lord, I feared retribution from them because I've killed one of their people. I've killed one of their people. Send with me my brother Aaron. Send with me my brother Harun. But Ya Sa'sa, know that when Rasulullah ordered me, Ali, to go and reveal the ayat of Surah Al-Bara'ah to the kuffar and the mushrikeen of Mecca, I, Ali, though I had killed many of their fathers, I had killed many of their brothers, many of their nephews, uncles, and many of their grandfathers had tasted death at the sword of Ali. But I never said to the Holy Prophet that I fear retribution. I never asked for someone to come with me. Sa'sa, I went to Mecca. I went towards the Kaaba. They parted their ways. I climbed to the top of the Kaaba. I revealed the ayat of Surah Al-Bara'ah. I came down from the Kaaba. Sa'sa, as I walked forward, they split aside like the sea of Musa. I walked forward. They moved aside. I was like a lion that was walking through the desert, and not a single animal dares come in his way. Sa'sa, I looked at each and every one of them, and I saw fear in their eyes. But I looked inside my heart, and I found itminan and peace. For this reason, I am greater than Musa. Says, Ya Ali, are you greater than Ibrahim? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I am greater than Ibrahim. لماذا يا أمير المؤمنين? For what reason, O Amir al-Mu'mineen? Ali says, Sa'sa, read the Quran. Do you not see how Ibrahim calls out to his Lord? He says, my Lord, show me how you will raise the dead. Allah replies to him, Oh Ibrahim, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ? Ibrahim, do you not have iman? He says, Bala, وَلَا يَطْمَعِنَّ قَلْبِي. I do, but I wish my heart to be at ease. I wish my yaqeen to be pushed to that point of certainty. But oh Sa'sa, know that I, Ali, many a times, standing from the member of Kufa, while amongst the people, while alone, have said many a times, لو كشف الغطاء ما ازددت يقينا, that if every single one of the curtains was lifted in front of the eyes of Ali, Ali's yaqeen would not increase by one atom. For this reason I am greater than Ibrahim. Ya Ali, are you greater, or is Isa ibn Maryam greater? Says, I am greater. لماذا يا أمير المؤمنين? For what reason are you greater, O Amir al-Mu'mineen? He says, Sa'sa, when Maryam began to feel the pains of labor in Baytul Maqdis, she came towards the Bayt and she invoked Allah. Oh Allah, for the sake of this child within my womb, ease the pains of my labor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied to her, Maryam, this is a house of worship, not a house of birth. Leave here. Leave from here, go out into the desert and give birth to your child there. But when my mother Fatima bint Asad began to feel the pains of she came and she held on to the Kaaba, said, my Lord, for the sake of this child within my womb, ease the pains of my labor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send her out. Instead, the side of the Kaaba cracked open and a voice was heard from within, Ya Fatima udkhuli, or Fatima, come inside. But Sa'sa know that Maryam was forced out of Bayt al-Maqdis because of Isa. But my mother Maryam was invited inside. My mother Fatima was invited inside because of me. For this reason I am greater than Isa. Then Sa'sa says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, are you greater, or is the Holy Prophet of Islam greater? Amir al-Mu'mineen looks towards him, says, Wayhak ya Sa'sa. Says, woe unto you, O Sa'sa. Ana abdun min abid Muhammad. I am nothing but a servant from amongst the servants of Muhammad. This is Ali. This is Ahl al-Bayt. We can recite their fada'il until the end of the night. But Ahl al-Bayt came with a purpose. They came with a reason. In order to guide us. With all their azamah that they had, it was gained through one thing. And that is ubudiyyah. They gained all that greatness through what? Through the servitude of Allah. Each and every one of us can achieve a fraction of that greatness through the ubudiyyah of Allah. If we give ourselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we dedicate our lives towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we too can achieve that height of greatness. But the requirement is that we take the step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The requirement is that we make that intention to change our lives and become the true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all cry for Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. We all remember al-Abbas. But how do we address him in the ziyarat of Waritha? Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-abd al-salih al-muti'u lillah wa li rasuli wa li amir al-mu'minin wa lil hasani wa lil Husayn. Says, that's my peace be upon you. May the peace of Allah be upon you. Oh, that servant of God that was obedient to Allah, was obedient to the Holy Prophet, was obedient to Amir al-Mu'mineen, was obedient to Imam al-Hasan, was obedient to Imam al-Husayn. If we want to reach that stage of ubudiyyah, it requires us to do things in order to change our lives. It requires us to put the effort in to be able to take that step towards them. And Karbala is that training ground. The Ayyam of Muharram are those training grounds where we learn how to fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Karbala is the greatest love story ever told. Karbala is the greatest love story, not the love story that we know, but this love between an abd and ma'bud, between the servant and the served, the servant and the master. Why else did Zainab stand in front of Ibn Ziyad Mal'un when he asked her that how did you perceive what Allah did to your brother? And she replied, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. Zainab saw nothing but beauty. Tell me, what was the beauty that Zainab saw in Karbala? Amongst all of that bloodshed, amongst all of that difficulty, what was it that Zainab saw in Karbala that she said, yes, this is nothing but beauty? The beauty that Zainab saw in Karbala is that someone like Qasim ibn al-Hasan coming to his uncle saying, oh uncle, will I too be killed tomorrow? And his uncle says to him that, Ya bunayya kayfa 'indaka al-maut, my son, how do you perceive death? Ahla min al-asal, the death to me, or death to me, is sweeter than honey. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is someone like Habib ibn Madahir coming to the body of Muslim ibn Awsaja and saying, Muslim, is there anything, any last will that you want me to fulfill? He says yes. He takes the hand of Habib, he places it in the hand of Abu Abdullah. He says, until you are alive, defend this man with everything that you have. The beauty that Zainab saw in Karbala is someone like Sa'id ibn Abdullah standing in front of his Imam while his Imam prays namaz behind him, taking every arrow into his body, defending his Imam. When he falls down to the ground and the Imam takes his head in his lap, he says, Sa'id, is there anything that I can do for you? He says, yes, O Imam, answer one question for me. He says, what is it? He says, Awafaytu ya ibn Rasulillah, have I been loyal to you, O son of Rasulullah? The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is at the time of Dhuhr, Abu Thamama Saydawi is coming to the Imam. Ya ibn Rasulillah, it is the time of Dhuhr. Imam says to him, may the mercy of God be upon you, Abu Thamama, that you remembered namaz at such a difficult time. Let us pray. He prays there. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is Habib ibn Madahir going out. When the Imam begins to start his prayer, they call out, Hussein, what is namaz going to do for you? Your namaz is not accepted. Habib, angered, goes to defend his Imam. He attacks them. Habib killed. He falls in the defense of namaz. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is Imam al-Hussein coming to her on the night of Ashura saying, Ukhayya Zainab, idha qumti ila nafilat al-layl udhkurini, that my sister Zainab, when you stand for your night prayer, remember me. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is when Imam al-Hussein tells his companions, leave, all of you go. Then he relights the candle. They all stand there. Oh, Ya ibn Rasulillah, if we were killed and our bodies cut to pieces and those pieces set on fire and the ashes scattered amongst the winds, we will never leave you, Ya ibn Rasulillah, even if this happens 70 times. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is on the day of Ashura, that the young boy is coming to his uncle, Lam yazal yuqabbil rajlayhi wa yaday, constantly kissing the hands and the feet of his uncle. Oh uncle, give me permission to go out and fight. Give me permission to go out and fight. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is an individual, a young boy whose name isn't even given in the maqtal, riding out, so young that he rides out, says Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal Amir. He doesn't even say who his mother and father are. He says Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal Amir, Sururu Fuad al-Bashir al-Nadir, Aliyun wa Fatima walida, wa hal ta'lamuna lahu bin-Nadir. He says, Amiri Husaynun, Hussein is my master, and what a great master he is. The son of Rasulullah, the son of Ali and Fatima. What greater honor is there than this in the world? The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is Imam al-Hussein holding the body of the 6-month-old child after being struck by an arrow, looking towards the heavens. My Lord, this is easy for me to bear, knowing that you are watching. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is at the final moment, Hussein mounts his horse, over 300 wounds upon his body, blood flowing from his body. He rides out, having given his Akbar, having given Qasim, having given Ali Asghar, having given Al-Abbas. He rides out looking towards the heavens. Ilahi taraktu al-khalqa turran fi hawaka, wa in tamtu al-ayala likay araka, wa in qatta'a بالحب إربا لمال الفؤاد إلى السواك. My Lord, I have left the whole of creation for your sake. I've orphaned my children so that I may see you. And even if the swords were to come and cut me to pieces, my heart would turn to none but you. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala, the lover calls out to his Lord, Ilahi taraktul khalqa durran fi hawaka. He goes out riding. The beloved replies, Ya ayyatuha an-nafsul mutma'inna, irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan radiyya. Return to your Lord, O content soul. He falls from the horse to the plains of Karbala. He places his head in sajda. Ilahi radam radak wa tasliman li amri la ma'bud as-siwak ya ghiyath al-mustaghithin. Oh my Lord, I am happy within which there is your happiness. I find no Lord worthy of worship but you. I have submitted to your command. Oh, the one that hears the cries of the one that cries out. This is that beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala. Ubudiyah, dedication to the Imam, love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is our dedication to our Imam? What is the level of our dedication to our Imam? When I recite Dua al-Nudba on Friday mornings, and I say, Azizun alayya an ara al-khalqa wa la tura. My beloved, I see all of creation here, and I know it exists because of you. Wa la tura. But where are you? Does my heart not bleed when I recite Dua Iftitah, and I say in Dua Iftitah, oh Allah, I complain to you. What for? Ghaybata waliyina, for the ghayba of my Imam. The fact that I can't see my Imam, does it not bother me every Friday morning when I wake up and I realize that my Imam hasn't appeared? Does it not bring a tear to my eye when I say, Ayna talibu bidam al-maqtul bi Karbala? Where is the one that will avenge that which took place in Karbala? Does my heart not bleed knowing that my Imam is distant from me? Does my heart not break knowing that my Imam is away from my eyes? Does it not break my heart to hear that he says in Ziyarat Nahiya Ya Jadda, oh my grandfather Imam al-Hussein, I cry for you sabbahan wa masa'a, I cry for you morning and night. Wala abkiyanna laka badal ad-damu'i ad-dam'a, and when my tears run out, I cry tears of blood for you. Tell me, does it not break my heart when the narration says that on the twice a week or once a week, the scroll of deeds of his Shi'as are presented in front of the Imam of our time? He looks at them, he cries, Ilahi, why are they not ready yet? But every time I raise my hands in Dua Faraj and I say, Allahumma kulli waliyyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, the narration says in Mikyal al-Makarim, the book is Mikyal al-Makarim, he says that every time the believer raises his hands, Allahumma kulli waliyyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, wherever the Imam is, he stops, he says, Ya Allah, this mu'min, this Shia of mine that has prayed for me, Ya Allah, fulfill his hajat, keep him safe. That Kareem Imam that we recite in the ziyarat of the day of Jum'ah, wa Kareemun min awlad al-kiram, that you are the generous from the lineage of the generous ones. That Imam that has to cry, tell me, does he not have enough to cry about? With all that happened to his grandmother, with all that happened to Imam al-Hasan, with all that happened to Amir al-Mu'mineen, with all that happened in Karbala, that me with my evil deeds, me with my sins, I cause my Imam to cry as well? Let it not be the case that I caused the tears in the eyes of Yusuf-e-Zahra. That through my sinning, through my haram, my Imam weeps. He has enough to cry about. Sayyid al-Shuhada is ghareeb, yes. But he still had Abbas by his side. He still had Qasim by his side. He still had Ali Akbar. He still had Zuhair. He still had Burayd. He had Habib. He had Muslim ibn Awsaja. Tell me, where is the Habib of your Imam? Tell me, where is the Burayd of your Imam? Where is the Zuhair? Where is the Ali Akbar? Where is the Qasim of your Imam? Your Imam is Gharib. He sits in the curtains of Ghaiba waiting for his Shi'as to be ready. We're not awaiting the Imam is awaiting us. Only when we choose to purify ourselves, only when we choose to remove the sins from our lives, will we then become the Zuhair? Will we then become the Burayd? Will we then become the Habib of this time, ready to fight by the side of our Imam? And then he shall come, but until that time he will remain Gharib, and the reason for his loneliness will be me. For how long will I continue my life in this way? Forgetting Allah, forgetting the Imam, and only bringing them up at certain times when I have difficulty within my life. What have I done for my Imam? What have I done to pave the way of my Imam? What is it that I have given in the way of my Imam? Or is it that I'm like Ubaydullah al-Ju'fi that I spoke about in the first night? That when the Imam comes to him, says, I need you to come and join my cause. He says to the Imam, oh Imam, take my horse. This is the fastest of horses, but I can't come with you. Am I the same way for the cause of my Imam? That I rather cut a check or give money rather than come and open the Husayniyah, vacuum the Husayniyah, prepare the place for the mu'mineen? Am I that individual that just wants to waltz in at the last moment, do what I need to do and leave, not even spare a thought that should I clean this Husayniyah of Sayyid al-Shuhada? Remember this, that it does not lower the status of any individual to clean the Farsh Aza of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Rather, this is sharaf, rather this is an honor. This is something that a person can be proud of. For the narration says, Inna al-Husayn babun min abwabil Jannah, that Husayn is one of the doors of Jannah. They say hell has 7 doors, Jannah has 8 doors. The 8th door is known as Babul Husayn. That door is reserved for those that volunteered in the way of Sayyid al-Shuhada. That door is reserved for those who gave niyaz in the way of Sayyid al-Shuhada. That door is reserved for those that did the azadari of Sayyid al-Shuhada. No, not just did the azadari, but they made the place ready for the azadar of Sayyid al-Shuhada. That place is reserved for those that straightened the shoes of the azadar of Sayyid al-Shuhada. That place is reserved for those individuals that are the true muhibbeen of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We want no Jannah if it has no Hussein within it. Are we going to prepare ourselves for that Jannah? Or do I not have the time for the cause of the Imam? What is it that I have done for my Imam? This Majlis that we have called the Widai Majlis, the Majlis to bid farewell, there is no bidding farewell, not for the believer. These days that we have changed, these days that we have decided not to listen to the haram that we were listening to, or look at the haram that we were looking at, or do the haram that we were doing, it does not end here. For the narration of the Holy Prophet says, "Inna liqatl al-Husayn harawatan fi qulub al-mu'minin la tabrudu abada." It says, through the killing of Imam al-Husayn, a fire is ignited within the hearts of the believers. La tabrudu abada. It is a fire that shall never subside from the heart of the believer. So if I leave here and my attitude changes, if I leave here and I go and do ghiba, I go and do tuhmat, I go and lie, I am angry, I am jealous, I have pride, then I have not understood it. Either I'm not a believer, because it says la tabrudu abada. the passion within which I attend the Majlis of Sayyid al-Shuhada, I should attend with the same passion, the Majlis of Imam al-Baqir, the Majlis of Imam al-Sadiq, the Majlis of Imam al-Kadhim, because we have these big Imams and small Imams. The first Imam, big Imam. 21 Rajab, 21st Ramadan, packed. 13th Rajab, packed. Imam al-Hussein, Sha'ban, packed. Ashura, packed. Imam al-Sajjad, slowly waning. Imam al-Baqir, 10, 15 people. Imam al-Sadiq, less. Imam al-Kadhim, maybe some people come. Imam al-Rada, so, depends what community you're in. Imam al-Jawad, Imam al-Hadi, mazloom still. Imam al-Askari, madloom still. We only come to the Shahadat of Imam al-Askari to hear what time the Jashan of Eid al-Zahra starts. The Shahadat of the Imam is happening, we're preparing for the Jashan next week. It's the night of the Shahadat, the day of the Shahadat, we are doing Jashan. We have to be aware of what we're doing. We have to be aware of how we're living our lives. That we're saying some Imams are important, others are not so important. I know the life of the first Imam, but 8th, 9th Imam, 10th Imam, no idea. Dare I say, do I even know where they're buried? Why is it that they ended up in Samarra, the 10th and the 11th Imam? Why are they called Al-Askariyin? Why? All of these things we need to know. La tabrudu abada. The fire never subsides. And every Imam has said that if you want to cry over anything, cry for Sayyid al-Shuhada. So then why is it that I don't attend the Majlis of the other Imams? It's a problem. We have to think, we have to ask ourselves. How can we claim to be the Shia of the Imam when we don't even mourn his father and his grandfathers? It's an important matter that we come and we have all of these Husayniyas packed, but then those Imams still remain madloom. And I still say, everywhere I go, that the A'imma today are madloom, as they were then. See, back then they were madloom at the hands of their oppressors. Today they're madloom at the hands of their Shia. Ali would take Asbaq ibn Nubata out, and he would take Kumail ibn Ziyad al-Nikhai out into the desert and say to him, Ya Kumail, ha huna ilman jama'a. Kumail, there is so much knowledge here, but there's no one to take it from me. Kumail, I have to tell the earth that which is burdening me. There is no one to take this knowledge from Ali. He was madloom then at the hands of his oppressors. Today Ali is madloom at the hands of his Shia. We all have Nahjul Balagha in our homes. How many of us have read them? Imam al-Sajjad was madloom at that time, because he could not give his teachings openly, had to give them in the form of dua. He was madloom at that time at the hands of his oppressors. Today he's madloom at the hands of his Shi'as that have never read Sahifatul Sajjadiyah. They were madloom then, they're madloom now. Zainab al-Kubra was madloom then at the hands of her oppressors. She was madlooma then at the hands of her oppressors. Today she is madlooma. I've never read the khutbah that she gave in Kufa. I've never read the khutbah she gave in Sham. Imam al-Sajjad, I don't know what khutbah he gave. I cried for Sayyida Zahra's madloomiyat, but I've never read khutbah fadakiyah. I don't know what she said. I just know she went لَاثَتْ خِمَارَ عَلَى رَأْسِهَا وَاشْتَمَلَتْ بِجِلْبَابِهَا. And she placed her her khimar upon her head, she wrapped herself in her abaya, she covered her face, she was surrounded by the women of her tribe and those that were close to her, and then she walked to the mosque of the Prophet, and her walking was like that. Her clothing was dragging along the ground, hiding even her footsteps, and she went, and her walking was like the walking of Rasulullah. She entered into the court, فَأَنَّتْ أَنَّا, she ordered that a curtain be placed in between them, فَأَنَّتْ أَنَّا, she let out a wail, and she let out a cry that made all of them cry. But what she said after, we have no idea. What she said after, we have no idea. By the name of it, by culture, we may say that this is the Widai Majlis. But it's not necessary for it, or it is not for us within our heart as an organization, last Majlis of the Ayami Azhar. But our hearts remain as the Azhar Khanas of Sayyid al-Shuhada throughout the year. If it's not too much of a bother, if brothers could please make their way forward, so anyone that's coming from the back doesn't have to step back. Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha. If everyone could just take 1 or 2 steps forward. Everyone, please, even those too cool for school. Ahsan, thank you. They are madhaloom then at the hands of their oppressors, they're madhaloom now at the hands of their Shia. But we only know a few stories about them. We don't know how they lived their life, we don't know what it is that they did. This azar, it never stops. This mourning, this change in our lives that we bring about in the first 10 days of Muharram, that we stop listening to music and these things, it does not end there. Is it not enough for the Shia of Al Muhammad to know that they played the drums and musical instruments around the daughters of Ali and Fatima in Kufa? That for the rest of his life he will never go near a musical instrument or go near music. Is it not enough for him to know that? The wida of Ahlul Bayt, the return of Ahlul Bayt to Medina, many marthiyas that are recited by Ahlul Bayt themselves. I want to recite a slightly longer musibah today. Who knows when we will have an opportunity again to sit in the remembrance of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Who knows whether we'll be here next year. The last night of our formalized azar for Imam al-Hussein. It's our aqidah, yes, that Zahra alayha salam is also here. It's our aqidah that the Imam of our time is also here. In fact, the narrations appear that none has permission to cry within the Majlis of Hussein except the one that in front of him, Sayyid al-Shuhada, sits, looks him in the eye and says, "You have my permission to cry for me." Their return to Medina, Kulthum looks towards the walls of Medina. Ya Medina tujaddina la taqbalina. Oh, the Medina of my grandfather, do not accept us back. For when we left, there were many of us. Our men were with us. Our children were with us. But now there is none by our side. Looking towards our hometown, looking towards that place, what would be passing through her mind? Having just come from Karbala, a day of Arba'een, Ahlul Bayt entered back inside Karbala. What is it that goes through their minds? What is it that they are thinking? Each of them looking towards the walls of Medina. How is it that they will go in and tell those that are inside what happened in Karbala? What is it that they will tell them? How will I tell them that Aliun Akbar was فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا, that they mutilated his body? There are two people in Karbala who this word is used for. فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. The first is Ali Akbar, or three people. The first is Ali Akbar, the second is Ali Abbas, and the third is Sayyid al-Shuhada himself. What does فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا mean? You hear in the Maqtal that when Ali Akbar was struck upon the head, Ali Akbar fell forward on his horse. As others say, a spear pierced the back of Ali Akbar. He fell forward on his horse. The blood from the head of Ali Akbar went into the eyes of the horse. The horse, not knowing what to do, it ran into the enemies. Now whoever had a sword in their hand, they struck the body of Ali Akbar. Whoever had an arrow, they fired it at Ali Akbar. Whoever had a spear, they threw it at Ali Akbar. فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. You know, when Ali Akbar falls and Sayyid al-Shuhada reaches his body, they say that Hussein came and looked at his son and he sat down on the earth, the first of Bani Hashim to die. Imam al-Hussein, as soon as Ali Akbar came, Imam Hussein gave him permission straight away, but the Maqtal says, فَنَظَرَ آيَسٍ مِّنْهُ. Hussein gave Ali Akbar permission, but he looked at him with sorrow in his eyes. Now this son Ali Akbar lies, soul departed from his body. They say Abu Abdullah came, he sat down on the earth. قَطَعَ اللَّهُ قَوْمًا قَتَلُوا يَا بُنَيَّ لِي. He takes the head of Ali Akbar in his lap. They say he wiped off the dust from the cheek of Ali Akbar. He wiped the blood from the teeth of Ali Akbar. وَضَعَ خَدَّهُ عَلَى خَدِّهِ. He placed his cheek on the cheek of Ali Akbar. And he called out, عَلَى الدُّنْيَا بَعْدِكَ الْأَفْضَلِ. What pleasure is there left in this dunya after you, oh my son Ali Akbar? But Hussein didn't pick up the body of Ali Akbar. They say that Abu Abdullah began crying so much. Who was there to console Hussein? Who is there to ease the burden of the death of Ali Akbar in the heart of Hussein? They say, Maqtal of Lahu for Sayyid ibn Tawus says, we saw a lady dressed in black come running from the tent. Oh, the son of my brother, oh my Ali Akbar. Zainab throws herself on the body of Ali Akbar. Imam says to her, Zainab, not while I'm alive. Zainab, not while I'm alive. Return back to the tents. And Imam took Zainab back to the tents. Then he turns to the youth of Bani Hashim. He says to them, go bring your brother Ali Akbar. But Imam takes off his abba, he gives it to them. He says, go bring your brother Ali Akbar. One narration, فَخَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. Why did he not bring the body of Ali Akbar? One son, Abbas. Again it says, فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. See, when they pierced the water bag, that water skin, and the water began flowing, the narration says, فَوَقَفَ الْعَبَّاسِ. Now Abbas stopped his horse. They said 400 archers took aim at Abbas. Abbas swaying upon his horse, body pierced by arrows. One arrow strikes the eye of Al-Abbas, you hear, and he goes forward to pull out that arrow. When al-Baneen would be seen in Baqi', she would recite her Marthiyah. Oh, people of Medina, do not call me al-Baneen anymore. For the those sons that I was known for, they no longer remain. She says, they tell me that Hussein was killed. And I say to them, how is it possible Hussein could be killed when my Abbas was there? Says, but then they tell me they cut the arms of Abbas. Abbas, they tell me that an arrow embedded in your eye. Abbas, they tell me that your head was struck by a metal mace. You see, when Abbas's eye was struck by the arrow, and Abbas bent forward to remove the arrow with his knees. As he bent forward, one mal'oon came from behind Abbas. He struck the head of Al-Abbas with such force that they say it threw Abbas from the horse to the earth. Now how does one that does not fall, how does the one that falls from the horse but has no arms fall? They say that Abbas fell upon his face onto the ground. As Abbas fell, he called out, Ya akha, idrik akhak. Oh brother, come to the aid of your brother. Imam al-Hussein went to Al-Abbas. He stood by Abbas. Alan inkasara dhahri. They say, why is it Hussein stood? With Ali Akbar he sat. When Qasim was there, he sat. But when Abbas fell, Hussein stood by his body and cried. فَبَكَى الْحُسَيْنُ بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا. Says Hussein cried so loudly we've never heard him cry. But why is it Hussein stood and he didn't sit? They say because when Ali Akbar was alive, Hussein sat because he knew Abbas was in the tent. When Qasim was killed, he sat because he knew Abbas was in the tent. But now Abbas is not in the tent. The Fawatim, the daughters of Ali and Zahra are alone. They say that why is it that Hussein didn't take the body of Abbas? The first reason could be, they said that Hussein said, Al-an inkasara dhahri. That now the back of Hussein has been broken. Abu Abdullah didn't have the strength to lift the body of Abbas. The second reason they say could be that as Abbas fell, the army of Yazid called out, attack the tents of Hussein, Hussein is gharib. And so Abu Abdullah couldn't wait long by the body of his brother and turned back. The third reason, they say, because فَقَدْتَعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. What does this line mean? That Hussein couldn't bring back the body of Ali Akbar, and he couldn't bring back the body of Abbas. He had to send the youth of Bani Hashim to bring the body of Ali Akbar in an aba, to hold it from four corners and carry the body of Ali Akbar. But Abbas's body, he couldn't bring back because he was alone. فَقَدْتَعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. Do you know what that means? When Hussein would lift from the left, the right side would fall away. When he would lift from the right, the left side would fall away. What does Kulthum tell the people of Medina? What does Zainab tell them? Because the other person that was فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا was her brother Hussein. There was only one time Zainab ran out and held the body and said, Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban. Oh Allah, accept from us this small sacrifice. But after that, Zainab couldn't lift the body of Abu Abdullah. You know why? They say on the 11th of Muharram, when Zainab was told to mount upon the horse, upon the camels, نظرت شمالا ويمينا. Zainab looked to her left and she looked to her right. وقالت, and she cried out, Wa Abbas, Wa Akbar. Where are you all? When Zainab left, they say that Abbas placed his knees in the way, said, Ya Sayyida, place your feet on the knees of Abbas and climb upon your camel. But now Zainab say they tied them and they took them through the bodies of the shuhada. It's our final majlis, the Widai majlis of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Says that Zainab was tied with the women and the camels were made to walk amongst the bodies of the shuhada. Say that Zainab saw in the distance that body that was covered in arrows, stones around it. They say Zainab threw herself from the camel to the earth of Karbala. No, you have not understood. Said Zainab threw herself from the camel to the earth of Karbala. When Ali Akbar fell, Ali Akbar was a man and he fell from a horse. When Qasim fell, he was still a young man and he fell from a horse. Yes, when Abbas fell, his arms were cut, but he was a young man and he fell from a horse. But on the 11th of Muharram, when Zainab throws herself from the camel, this is Zainab, a woman, a camel she is on top of, her arms tied around her neck. Tell me, how is it Zainab fell to the earth? Zainab stood, she ran and then she sat. She would run again and then sit again. She would run again and then sit again until she reached. They say, why is it Zainab ran and sat? Said one reason could be that on Sham-e-Ghariba, because of Sham-e-Ghariba, Zainab was so tired. She stayed awake the whole night. She stayed awake the whole night taking care of the children of Abi Abdullah. That now Zainab no longer had the strength to keep on running. The second reason, they say, is that Zainab ran, she found parts of her brother lying there. Because on the 10th of Muharram, after they killed all the shuhada, they decapitated their heads. An announcement was made that who will trample the body of Hussein? Zainab stands until Zainabiyya. They tie 10 horses together and they begin to gallop across the body of Sayyid al-Shuhada. The limbs of Sayyid al-Shuhada spread. Zainab stops at every limb she kisses it until she reaches the body of her brother. She turns towards Medina. Ya Jadda, salli alayka malaikatu as-sama. Wa hadha Husaynuka murammalun bid-dima. مسلوب العمامة والرداء مقطوع الأعضاء مقطع الأعضاء وبناتك سبايا. My grandfather, the angels of heaven would come and send salam upon you. But here lies your Hussein covered in his own blood. His body cut to pieces. His amama and clothing stolen from his body. وَبَنَاتُكَ سَبَايَا. And your daughters are being taken captive. Does Zainab tell them about what befell Abi Abdullah? Or does she tell them about Kufa and Sham? They say that Zainab cried from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham for Abu Abdullah. And when Zainab entered into Medina, some say Abdullah, her husband, couldn't recognize her. That in this short period of 40 days, Zainab had become so old. After seeing all the musibah, her own husband couldn't recognize her. But when Zainab entered the home, Abdullah came to her and said, Ya bint Rasulillah, accept my condolences for Abu Abdullah. And both of them wept. And then they say that Zainab walked towards the room where her sons Awan and Muhammad were. You heard that when in Sham, the heads were brought and 2 heads were left aside, and the women of Sham spoke amongst themselves, maybe these children, their mother has died, that there's no one to mourn for them. Zainab would lift her head and look towards them and say, don't say that their mother is still alive, but she's mourning for her brother Abu Abdullah. They say as Zainab opened the door to the room of Awan Muhammad, she saw the musallas of Awan Muhammad on the ground. Zainab is a mother in the end. She sits between them, she calls out, Abdullah! Zainab cried for her brother from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. Come give Zainab condolences for her sons, Awan and Muhammad. That's when they ask the Imam, Imam, where was the most difficult time upon you? The Imam would say, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. Nu'man ibn Manzal al-Madaini asks the Imam, he says, oh Imam, why is it that you cry about Sham so much? He says, Nu'man, certain things happened to us in Sham that did not happen to us anywhere. Says Imam, what happened? He says, the first thing that happened is that they placed their heads on spears, and they placed the heads of that individual, of every individual in front of their loved one. They placed the head of Ali Akbar in front of Layla. They placed the head of Sayyid al-Shuhada in front of Zainab. They placed the head of Qasim in front of Farwa. They say that at times, oh Nu'man, they would hit the heads together playing with them, and at times the heads would fall and be crushed under the feet of the camels. The second reason, Nu'man, is that when we entered in to Sham, they placed the drummers and the dancers around the daughters of Ali and Batul. They would dance and drum around the daughters of Ali and Fatima. The third reason, Nu'man, is that they placed with us someone who would announce in every street, these are the daughters of Rasulullah. These are those that have revolted against Yazid. Come out and view them. He says the fourth reason, Nu'man, is that the women of Sham, they climbed upon their homes, they boiled water, and they set fire to wood, and they would pour the boiling water on the daughters of Ali and Fatima. They would set fire to wood, and they would throw it on the daughters of Ali and Fatima. The fifth reason, Nu'man, is that they took us to the area where the Jews and the Christians would live, and there they announced, come and take revenge for their elders, killed your elders in Khaybar and Khandak. Come and take your revenge. Oh no man, not a single Jew or Christian remained within the home, except that they came with sticks in their hands, and they began to attack us and the daughters of Ali and Zahra. The sixth reason, Nu'man, is that they took us to the place where they would sell slaves. They took us to the marketplace of slaves, where they tried to sell the daughters of Ali and Fatima as slaves. Had it not been for the intervention of Allah, thanks to the intervention of Allah, we were saved from that fate. The seventh reason, Nu'man, is that they kept us in a place that was known as the House of Ruins. This was a place which had no roof. The walls would move, they had holes in them at night, and the children could not survive from the cold, and in the day they had no shelter from the heat of Sham. That's that same place that Sajjad buried his sister. Within that prison, Sajjad's sister, you heard yesterday how difficult was it for Sajjad to bury his sister. There were many masa'ib that befell Ahlul Bayt. Last few minutes. Many masa'ib that befell Ahlul Bayt. And Imam al-Sajjad would say, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. But when Mukhtar began his revolt and began catching people, and Minhal would come to Imam al-Sajjad and Ahlul Bayt and would say to them that Mukhtar has caught Umar ibn Sa'ad, he's called Shimar, this person has been called Khul, he's been called. Ahlul Bayt and Imam al-Sajjad would only ask one question. Tell me, have they caught Hurmala yet? What is it that Hurmala did to the Ahlul Bayt? That even after Sham, they still say, have they caught Hurmala yet? Hurmala committed that action, that when Hussein comes for his final wida, he says, oh, and Sister Zainab, Nawilini waladi as-saghir, bring my youngest son to me, so that I may bid farewell to him. Hussein came to bid farewell to Ali Asghar, but I don't know what it was that changed the mind of Hussein. Was it that the color from the face of Ali had drained? Was it that the Maqtal says that his eyes were rolling into the back of his head? was just to open and close his mouth, they say the child appeared like a fish out of water. So Hussein looked down at his child. He turned towards the battlefield. You hear Abu Abdullah went. He held the child. He asks them. He holds the child. Umar ibn Sa'ad comes to Harmala. Says, Harmala, cut off the words of Hussein. Harmala's reply is, Umar ibn Sa'ad, do I go for the father or the child? Umar ibn Sa'ad replies to him, do you see that white spot on the neck of the child? Aim for that. Harmala fires that arrow, and the arrow embeds itself within the child. But do you know how it came? What the effect of that arrow was? Your Imam recites in Ziyaratun Nahya, As-salamu ala tifl al-radi, mazbuh min al-uzn ila al-uzn. My salams be upon that child that was slaughtered from ear to ear. Hussein looks down at the child, looks towards her. When Mukhtar caught Harmala, he said to him, Mal'oon, tell me what is it that you did in Karbala? He said, I fired many arrows in Karbala. He says, I fired but 4 struck. Says, where were those 4? Says, the first arrow I fired into the eye of Al-Abbas. That made him fall from the horse. Said, the second arrow that I fired was a 3-headed poisoned arrow into the chest of Hussein on Yom Ashura. This is that arrow that you hear in the Maqtal, that it hit the chest of Imam al-Hussein with such force that the head of the arrow came out of the back of Abi Abdullah. He pulled the arrow from his back and a fountain of blood gushed forth from the chest. They say Imam took the blood, he threw it to the heavens. They say, by Allah, we never saw a single drop come back. Then he took another handful of the blood and he placed it on his face and he said, I will meet my grandfather in this way, saying that this person and this person killed me. So the third arrow that I fired was into the chest of Abdullah ibn Hassan, the younger brother of Al-Qasim. This is when Abu Abdullah is sitting alone in Karbala, now no strength to move. He just sits there. They say as they wanted to attack him, a young boy by the age of 10 comes running from the tent towards his uncle. He never knew Imam al-Hassan. He was too young at the time Imam al-Hassan died. Hussein for him was his father. He comes running out to defend Abu Abdullah. As this Mal'oon goes to strike the head of Imam, Abdullah places his arm in the way. They say the arm of Abdullah was cut. He fell into the lap of Sayyid al-Shuhada. He said, Ya Am, oh uncle, they have killed me. Imam says, my child, do sabr. Harmala says, I saw this. I took aim at the child. I fired an arrow into the chest of the child and killed him in the lap of Hussein. Says the 4th arrow that I fired was into the neck of the 6-month-old child of Abi Abdullah. He says that child, says Mal'oon, Mukhtar says to Mal'oon, did your heart not break for Hussein at any time? He says, Mukhtar, if you ask me, there was one time. Says when I fired that 3-headed arrow into the neck of Ali al-Asghar. Says, what happened? He says, when I fired the arrow and the child was slaughtered from ear to ear, I saw Hussein look down at the child, look towards the heavens, as if to say, my Lord, I have nothing else to give. At that point, I knew Hussein was truly Gharib. You hear Abu Abdullah walks back and forth, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Going back and forth. He goes to behind the tents. Say Rabab came. She saw her son. Ya bunay, amithluka yunhar. My child, our children like you slaughtered in the way of the camels. Abu Abdullah digs the grave of Ali Asghar, he buries him. But there's no water to pour on the grave. They say that Hussein laid his وَضَعَ خَدَّهُ عَلَى التُّرَابِ. Hussein placed his cheek on the earth and began crying loudly. The tears of his eyes wet the grave of Ali al-Asghar. This death was so much, but the musibah of Ali Asghar never stopped there. The musibah of Ali Asghar did not stop there. You know, when Imam al-Sajjad came on the 12th of Muharram to bury the body of his father, he came and they say that Bani Asad were looking around and he approached them and said, why have you not buried the bodies? They say that we can't identify the bodies, there's no heads on them. Imam goes around and says, this is the body of my brother Ali al-Akbar, this is the body of my cousin al-Qasim. He identifies all of the bodies. They say when he digs the grave of Sayyid al-Shuhada, he places Imam in the grave. Then they say Sajjad began looking towards the earth, said as if searching for something. Bani Asad turned towards him and said, Imam, what are you looking for? He says, I'm looking for the finger of my father. Says, why? He says, when my father lay on the plains of Karbala and they began looting his body and everything was looted, one man came towards my father, saw there was nothing to loot, but he saw the ring of the finger of my father. He tried to remove it, but the ring wouldn't come off, so he took his dagger out and he cut off the finger of Abi Abdullah. He says, I'm looking for the finger of my father. He looks around, he finds the finger, he places it with the body. Again now Sajjad begins looking around. They say, Imam, now what are you looking for? He says, my father gave me one last wasiyah. He said, Sajjad, when you come to bury me, bury my child Ali al-Asghar on my chest. Imam finds the body of Ali al-Asghar. But you heard that Sayyid al-Shuhada buried Ali Asghar. You heard that Sayyid al-Shuhada buried Ali Asghar. Then an Imam would never desecrate a grave. An Imam would never dig up a grave. So how is it that he finds the body of Ali on the plains of Karbala? They say 11th of Muharram, Abu Ayyub comes to Umar ibn Sa'd. He says, oh Umar ibn Sa'd, I was one of the people that trampled the body of Hussein. I too want one of the heads of Ahl al-Bayt. I too want to carry one of the heads. Umar ibn Sa'd says, I've distributed all the heads. There are no heads that remain. He says, no, I want a head. I want a head. Abu Ayyub insists. Umar ibn Sa'd begins thinking. He says, what of the 6-month-old child of Hussein? They say we saw Hussein bury him where the tents used to be. Allahu Akbar. They say that we saw him dig a small grave. They walk towards that area. Men with spears in their hands. Rabab is watching. They strike the ground. Sakina is watching. They begin to strike the earth with their spears. They strike the earth. When one Mal'oon strikes it, he pulled his spear out. At the end of it, the body of Ali al-Asghar. They say he took the body of the child in his hands. This head that wasn't totally cut from the body. Rabab is watching. The women of Ahl al-Bayt watching. He places one hand on the feet of Ali Asghar, one hand on the head of Ali Asghar. He pulls the body apart. He throws the body towards the Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Allah, for the sake of these tears, do not allow us, do not make this our last year for mourning for Sayyid al-Shuhada. Ya Allah, for the sake of these tears, those that are ill, give them shifa'ah. Ya Allah, for the sake of these tears, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Azadari around the world. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true Muntadiri.